American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada presents Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada. Start the week healthy and right with interesting conversations on living a healthy lifestyle. And now, your Healthy Mondays host, Dr. Marife Aczon Armstrong.
Aloha! Good evening. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Naimbaga Sardam, maayong gabi sa inyong tanan. I'm yours truly, Dr. Marife Aczon Armstrong, founding president of the Asian American Pacific Islander Nurse Association of Nevada. Aloha! Good evening. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Naimbaga Sardam, maayong gabi sa inyong tanan. I'm yours truly, Dr. Marife Aczon Armstrong, founding president of the Asian American Pacific Islander Nurse Association of Nevada and professor in nursing at Roseman University of Health Sciences, College of Nursing. Here we are on a Monday night, Healthy Mondays. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig sa aming programa at patuloy na pagtangkilik sa Healthy Mondays. So if you don't already know, the month of May is a very special month for all of us, especially Apina of Hawaii. And if you will allow me to read a portion of the White House proclamation regarding the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month this May of 2022. So quote unquote, this month we celebrate our fellow Americans from Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander communities and pay tribute to all they have done to help fulfill the promise of America for all. Together, let us recommit ourselves to building a country in which every American, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what they look like, has an equal opportunity to thrive. So our diversity, inclusivity, and belongingness for everybody. So tonight I have a very special guest. She is one of our founding members of the Apina of Nevada, and she's currently our president-elect. Welcome to Healthy Mondays, Dr. Sara Barines.
Hello, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. O umaga ba ngayon o araw?
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Right?
Wherever we are. So magandang gabi o magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Maupay nga adlaw ha iyong nga tanan. That suffice everything. I am so happy to be back in here. You know, we've been, celebrating the month of May, since last week. I mean, it's really nice that we can celebrate our Heritage Month. And I'm so excited to be here with Marife Armstrong.
Okay, well, Sarah, can you tell us more about your role in the Apina of Nevada?
Oh, thank you. So, well, Apina of Nevada is really like diversified. Most of us are nurses, and then we are like connected with different institutions. So my role as like president-elect has to do a lot of implementation, planning, doing things. So it's really nice that we could collaborate with other people, like other Asian. We are all Asian dito sa group namin. And we are like doing things in different ways. But in a way, you could say that we are collaborating great. Kasi isa yung sa amin, like the president, Dr. Ray Rafika, has to do a lot of outcome, like outside things for the organization, while I'm inside the organization, planning everything and doing all these implementations of all the projects that we do here at Apina. So we are more of the planning and the implementation, of course, evaluation for improvement for the future. So yun ang main role ko sa organization.
And I think if I may add, also, the core of our Apina of Nevada is community outreach to our AAPI communities there. So every time that we have a project, we have a community outreach or anything that we're planning, we're keeping in mind how we can keep our Asian American Pacific Islander population healthy. And so we are in partnership with a lot of organizations that have the passion, that have the heart to help the AAPI population.
Yes.
So Sarah, so how has your heritage as Filipino shaped the person that you are today?
Oh, for me, it's really like almost like maybe 95% of myself of who I am is coming from a Filipino descent because, doon tayo lumaki. We were, taught on how to do in a Filipino way. So, ang daming mga ways na I've been doing right now, and I could attribute it to what we have before, such like being respectful, like being diligent to what are the things that we should be doing. So focusing on things, those are the things that really nurture me or molded me. And another thing is, we Filipino or Asians in general, we are goal achievers. We always want to do things. And that's one thing. I just keep doing things. And I don't think so. I really just bored with it. I acquired it from somewhere. And I would say that's coming from our, from our training back home. So I could say that most probably most of the things that would define who I am is really coming from my parents. So
our cultural values from our parents, right?
Yes.
Some of our background are like Castilla, the Spanish, the Spaniards.
The Spaniards, yeah.
Have you had to I remember when the Angelus, when the bell rings at 6 p.m. in the evening, you have to be home. Kneeling down in front of the altar and praying, right? And sometimes I miss because I'm always talking stories and I'm always going out with my friends, and I always being punished kneeling on a handful of salt.
Yes.
Or a handful of
that
Did you get punished by that?
Oh yes. They don't want us to go outside at 2:00 because we want to play and they want us to sleep, pero ayaw talaga, gustong maglaro. So
I think that you're talking about the siesta, right? Our Spanish background.
Yeah.
Wow. So many things, so many good memories. I mean, they're like the memories that we have during our childhood, right? But so my next question to you, Zarah, is does your family have any traditions that are especially important to you?
Oh yeah. So one thing that I would really emphasize was yung simbang gabi. Remember on Christmas that we have to go to different churches here in Las Vegas, but back home, every morning, like December 16, pag-start na yung simbang gabi. So we always go there every single day for 9 days yun, di ba? 9 days novena yun. So that's always the thing that really it is in my values na talagang gusto kong bumalik. So, because it's nice that the whole family would wake up at 4:00 in the morning. We prepare. The mass is 5 a.m. Pagkatapos nun, may tsokolate, may mga puto. It's nice. Yeah, and then the entire family will be there. Nandoon yung mga friends mo. Tapos nandoon kami sa church. We have to sing. We have to sing the choir. And there's a lot of people, all the families, yung mga friends namin, na yung kagaya mo, mga teenagers, mga gano'n, nandoon din sila. So it's really fun. It's fun to go back. Kaya nang napunta dito yung simbang gabi sa Las Vegas, that's always my dream na gusto kong matapos yung how many days is it? So we have to move from one church to the other. So we have it in here in Las Vegas, and my hope is always every year I could go at least like half of it or 6 or 7 masses and every night. The goal is 10, but sometimes kasi yung mga nila morning or hapon, so we could not catch it up. But I love simbang gabi. I love it so much. Yeah.
Talagang pag sinabi ko to, mamamarka yung age ko kasi nung panahon ko, hindi pa nila naisip na maganda yung iba-ibang simbahan. Nung panahon ko, talagang simbang gabi, hating gabi talaga ang aming misa. Talagang 12 talaga. So 11 o'clock nasa simbahan na kami, 11 p.m. Talagang hating gabi talaga ang simba noon. Tapos you stay in your own church, tapos merong yung yung Station of the Cross yan eh.
Yes.
And mag-Station of the Cross. Kaya Ah, kaya I was saying na I'm marking my age kasi ganun nga yung nung panahon ko. So, our listeners out there, I'm sure na yung mga kasing edad ko ay 19 mga 1970s yun. So, kayo 1980s kayo. So, tatakda yung edad. Pero ang sarap talaga na balikan ang mga memories natin noon, yung ang talagang highlight ng simbang gabi yung pagkain. Kasi last Monday I interviewed Lisa Gamboa from PNA Nevada, and she said the same thing. Talagang nagmamarka talaga ang simbang gabi sa ating alaala. So my next question, Sarah, is what are some interesting hobbies or talents that most people may not know about you? So yung mga kilala nyo na si Sarah, makikilala nyo palalo siya.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I usually I love singing, dancing. Those are really like my stress releasing activities. Kung makasayaw na ako o makakanta, those are just like, wow, this is my happiest moment.
Alam mo ba, yun din ang sabi ni Lisa?
Oh yeah?
Dancing and singing. Talagang unique sa ang dancing and singing sa mga Pilipino.
That's
Kasi
right.
Di ba maraming mga successful na singer and dancer sa ating And not only in the Philippines, dito din sa United States and worldwide. Makikita mo Hoy, Pilipina yan. So,
yes.
So alam na namin yun na kumakanta ka as sumasayaw. Alin pa?
That's right. But one thing that you don't know, most probably, I pray every day. I wake up, I read the Bible, I pray the rosary. So every time na lumalabas ako, so if I'm walking, kasi gusto ko talagang maglakad, so I will be outside walking with the sunshine. I always pray the rosary at the same time. So I'm hitting 3 things. So I'm walking, physical, I'm praying, spiritual and emotional. That's the time na parang I'm at peace. Yun ang ko. Kaya I have to walk because I know that I have to pray the rosary. Yeah. And another thing, if I am working, if I'm going somewhere na wala akong maglalakad, I pray the rosary in the car. While I'm driving. Before, I usually listen to music. Ngayon, hindi na. Nagro-rosary na ako niyan. So, alam ko na 15 minutes of my driving, which I usually drove, like 30 minutes. So, 15 minutes of that, natatapos yung rosary kay Mama Mary. So, every day, yeah. That's something that you don't know, but that's my routine. And I've been carrying the rosary beads since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. I always have it in my pocket everywhere I go. Nandyan yan. So, ang dami ko kayang nawala ng rosary beads, but I'm still buying. I'm accumulating.
Okay,
so everywhere I go, my pants, I have this tiny angels. I have my rosary beads. I have in my backpack or in my purse or wherever. It's always with me. For me, I'm safe if I have my rosary beads.
That's good. I'm sure our kababayan out there can relate to what you were saying because, Filipinos are very, very faithful at saka talagang we love the Lord. Kaya naman si Lord, bine-bless tayo, right?
Yeah.
So, ito namang next question is, which historical figure do you admire the most and why?
Oh, for me, most probably, I heard really a lot from Mother Teresa's life. I think that's really like one of my parang idol ko. Parang maliit pa ko, the title that I usually put for myself is Queen of the Poor. Because just like Mother Teresa, she is so powerful. She is known all over the world. And what does she do? She helped people. She was not rich, but spiritually very rich, But kung titingnan mo siya, ordinary person, but what she does to the community, what she, anong ginawa niya sa mga tao is really, really powerful. Para sa akin, that would be a good example for everyone. Kasi nakikita ko sa life niya, it's simple, yeah. All of the things that we have in here in this world, we have our cars, we have our money, we have our career, everything is temporary anyway, right? like Mother Teresa's life. You can see it is plain and simple. But ang kailangan natin pag mawala na tayo, I think she has it because she got everything. Every people most probably that come along her way really parang natatouch sa life niya. Hindi ko nga siya nakikita ko lang siya yung sa books or sa magazines or wherever. Parang grabe yung connection. How much more for those people who saw her or touch her or talk to her. Diba? So yung sa akin, parang ano ko siya, parang okay, so maybe that's really makes sense, helping people, parang nasasatisfy ka if you could get one soul. Kumbaga, if you can make somebody happy on that day, that will be the best thing that you could do for that day.
So Mother Teresa is really such a role model.
Yeah.
And we were created in the image and likeness of God.
Yes,
so
correct.
She really resonated that. So that is one that we should all strive for, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So how about the AA and HPI Heritage Month? What does it mean to you?
Oh, for me, I could just describe it as this as a month that we could go back to the origin, kung saan tayo nanggaling, so we could reflect who we are. And then we just have to be humble and accept kung sino ka. No matter what, we are here in the US, we're American citizen, but we don't really look like, kung magtitingnan mo talagang Asian tayo. So makikita mo na parang this is a symbolic for me that, no matter what you do, no matter what will you do, So you really have to go back kung ano yung origin mo. Parang ngayon ko lang i-emphasize kasi everybody is celebrating them at parang binabalikan yung mga masasarap na mga memories of Asia. You know what I mean? So this is just a special moment that one day in our 365 days a month, actually. It's now 30 days of 365 days na pwede tayong mag-celebrate, and to be happy of who we are. Parang everybody should know that we are who we are. We are Asians. We eat this one. We do this activity. And it's just free that, hey, this is our month. We should be known and this is who we are.
Yes, and I think it's fitting to call it Heritage Awareness Month because by celebrating it, we're allowing other ethnicity, other culture to get to know us.
Yes, right. And it's more of cultural as well, intercultural. So they become competent because they know who we are.
Yes, and also it really resonates that the Asian Americans are different from Native Hawaiians. Yes. And the Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians are different from Pacific Islanders.
Yes.
So I can truly say that so much that growing up in Hawaii most of my life, and I said, how could they put together when they do research, when they report results of their research studies, they always put together the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And now we are now also acknowledging that Pacific Islanders are different from Native Hawaiians. Yeah. And Pacific Islanders are the Samoans, the Tongans, the Tahitians, and all the others. And the Native Hawaiians are the Native Hawaiians who are from Hawaii. I think that's what they wanted to resonate. So it's good to have this Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So
it's
the last
for us people, most probably in the medical field, it would also help us because we would know on how to interact, especially if most of these people will be our patients anyway. So at least by doing this awareness would help us in our practice as well.
Mm-hmm. And simple things. And I think a lot of healthcare workers are now getting to know the different characteristics of the AA and HPI population. I think one of the things that I think on top of my head is the eye contact. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean they don't respect you. Actually, not having eye contact to someone who has higher status is a respect itself. And a lot of healthcare workers who are not understanding that may be judgmental of how the Asian American and Native Hawaiians, mostly Asian Americans, are when it has to do with eye contact, right? So they're shy, or it doesn't mean it's a it's a disrespect. And I think we're talking to our kababayans who already know about that, but someone in this episode might be watching us and trying to get to know our AA and HPI population. So because you are in the healthcare field, you're a nurse educator, and also you probably also volunteer out in the community. Can you share with our listeners out there the three most prevalent chronic diseases that you see among the Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander population in your practice?
The very top list, top three most probably that I could see is the first one is hypertension. That's really, that's the towering, the most prevalent because most probably of the diet that we have. Salty, fatty, those are masasarap, but basically those are not really healthy. And it really like contributes to most of this, bad elements in our system. And towards the end, they develop this hypertension. The second one is, I think, is the diabetes. It's another one. There's a lot of, Asians are really diabetic. It's same thing. I think it's going back to our diet, into the food that we ate. The activities that we do, we are not that active like others, like other races, but we could do things, we could improve it most probably by starting all over again, and maybe we could turn around and make it better. And lastly is the arthritis. That's one thing, the uric acid is just way too high, or the cholesterol is high. So those are I think I even mentioned 4 instead of 3. But those are the most prevalent disease that we saw in our practice. And most of the people are really like reaching out during our community services. We could also see them because they will reach out to us with their problem. Like they will say, okay, I'm having problem with, headache, and I'm dizzy. Check their blood pressure, it's 200 over 110. That is really like, wow. So that alone, you could tell, you didn't even do to the detailed assessment of their lives. You already know most probably this is what it is because we are in the same culture.
Yes, and I agree with you with the diet. And there's a lot of Asians also have gout, right?
Yes,
gout.
Yes.
And you mentioned about your uric acid.
The uric acid, yes.
Yes. And I think one of the things that I also tell them, I'll give you a story because our pastor back in Hawaii is very fit. He would he jogs, he ride a bike, he also surf. And then one day he had a heart attack. And he would question the doctors and said, like, I take good care of myself. I eat right. Why did I still have a heart attack? And we forget to tell our patients and the community that hereditary is the number one causes of hypertension and heart attack and stroke. Yeah. And that is something that cannot be modified, but you can
modify it.
Delay. Yeah, it's an unmodifiable characteristic or causes of those chronic diseases that we mentioned. So it's in our blood. I mean, it's in our blood. It's in our DNA that we are high risk for having hypertension and diabetes. And so, some of us who knows about that really watch our sugar. So then, and watch our diet and also our lifestyle.
Yes.
When it's different when we were in the Philippines, we can walk to school. I remember that. But I think in the modern day, it's the same thing. That there's a lot of tricycles, right? And a lot of jeepneys that instead of walking, and we just it's the same thing here. We just ride our vehicle instead of walking. So maybe something to really get back to the normal things that we used to do a long time ago. And I think that's the lifestyle.
True.
Yeah. So, time flies when we're having fun. That's my cue. So I always ask my special guests any words of wisdom that they can share with our listeners out there regarding our topic today.
Okay, so one thing, because we were talking about this disease process, one thing that I would share that's really like what is working for me is doing the self-care. Self-care is really like across the board. We need it because if you will not do it, who else will do it? That's why it's called self-care. So what we're talking about is about your diet. I mean, you have to make sure that you could like most probably change your diet, modify your diet, and then you have to change your lifestyle. Just like what Marife was saying, if you usually like, drive your car into the next door, maybe into the next, block of your house, maybe you start walking, and then you have to make sure that you could exercise, because that's one thing also, losing these calories, and then maybe taking some vitamins, taking a good diet. We have to make sure that we'll be aware of what are the things that we put to ourselves. It boils out to be like self-love. So if you love yourself, you will not be putting too much stress or too much food that is not incongruent to a healthy body. Because at the end, you have to think that you will suffer at the end. I know you will just have it's an instant gratification that I want to have a pizza, five pieces of pizza instead of one. It's an instant gratification, but think it this way. If you will be doing the same thing, it would boils out to us, and at the end we will suffer. So my advice for you guys is just do your self-care. Do the minimum that you could do, but you have to make sure that you could exercise, you could have a good sleep, and have a healthy mind and a healthy heart to bring you to a better life.
And there you have it.
And one more is work-life balance. That's what we're looking for at this time.
Balancing, right? Everything in moderation. Eat a balanced meal, exercise. Look at maybe inventory of your lifestyle. Especially those who have a sedentary type of work. So thank you so much, Dr. Sara Barines, for being our guest tonight. There's a lot of words of wisdom you have shared with our listeners out there. I also wanted to thank PHLV Radio, Johan and Flora Saison, for allowing us to have this platform. And there's some lots of information that we can share with you all through this month in celebration of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Awareness Month. So remember, our listeners out there, take care of yourself. As Sarah said, self-care is very important, and having a well-balanced work and life, right?
Yes.
So remember, every Monday is a healthy Monday. Aloha.
The Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada.